There are moments in the life of a chosen one when the spirit perceives, long before the mind, that something around them has stopped being safe. Nothing obvious happens, yet the atmosphere grows heavy, conversations become draining, and the environment starts to weigh on you. And it is precisely in these moments that God begins to move His creation to speak to you, using signs that many ignore, but that the chosen immediately recognize. Throughout history, animals have been messengers, warnings, and mirrors of unseen realities. In Scripture, nature never acts randomly. Every creature moves by divine permission, and sometimes, by divine instruction. When God wants to protect you, He does not always speak through thunder or visions. Sometimes, He sends a quiet sign that only the spiritually alert will understand. Below are 9 animals that often appear as divine warnings, signals urging you to leave a person, relationship, environment, or place before harm reaches you. 1. The snake, warning of hidden betrayal. The snake is one of the clearest symbols of concealed danger. When snakes repeatedly appear in your dreams, thoughts, surroundings, or even through sudden encounters, it is rarely accidental. Spiritually, the snake represents deception, manipulation, and hidden hostility. God sends the image of a snake when someone around you is smiling on the surface but carrying poison beneath. This may be a friend who envies you, a partner who is dishonest, or an environment where truth is being twisted. The warning is not always about fear, it is about awareness. If snakes begin appearing when you think about a certain person or place, the message is clear: do not stay long enough to be bitten. Leave before trust turns into regret. 2. The crow, warning of spiritual contamination. Crows are often misunderstood. Spiritually, they are messengers of endings, exposure, and unseen corruption. When crows gather unusually near you or appear repeatedly in symbolic ways, it is a sign that something around you is draining your spiritual life. This is not necessarily about death, but about decay. A relationship that once felt alive now feels heavy. A place that once inspired you now exhausts you. God uses the crow to signal that staying longer will slowly poison your spirit. The crow does not attack, it observes, and its presence says, "This place is no longer aligned with your calling." 3. The dog, warning of false loyalty. Dogs symbolize loyalty, protection, and companionship. But when dogs appear aggressively, barking at you without cause, or showing strange behavior around certain people, it can be a spiritual alert. God sometimes uses dogs to expose false loyalty. Someone who claims to protect you may secretly compete with you. Someone who says they are on your side may be waiting for your fall. If you notice repeated dog imagery during conflicts or doubts, pay attention. God may be revealing who is truly loyal, and who is only pretending. 4. The owl, warning of hidden knowledge and secrets. Owls see what others cannot see. They represent hidden truths, spiritual insight, and secrets coming to light. When owls appear during times of confusion, God is signaling that something is happening behind the scenes. This warning is subtle but powerful. The owl does not scream, it watches. Its presence means, there is more happening here than you know. If you feel drawn to owl imagery while questioning a person or environment, trust that intuition. God is showing you that staying without clarity may expose you to deception. 5. The spider, warning of traps and manipulation. The spider is a symbol of carefully constructed traps. When spiders appear repeatedly, especially webs in places you frequent, it can signal manipulation, control, or entanglement. God sends this sign when a situation is designed to trap you slowly. At first, it feels harmless. Then it becomes difficult to leave. Emotional dependency, financial control, or psychological manipulation often come with this warning. The spider does not chase, it waits. And the message is simple: leave before you are too entangled to escape easily. 6. The rat, warning of toxic environments. Rats thrive in decay, secrecy, and unclean environments. Spiritually, they represent betrayal, hidden corruption, and survival at the expense of others. If rat imagery begins appearing when you are involved in a workplace, community, or relationship, God may be revealing that the foundation is corrupt. There may be gossip, dishonesty, or moral compromise behind closed doors. The rat warns you that staying may force you to become something you are not, just to survive. God calls you out before your integrity is tested beyond repair. 7. The horse, warning of forced direction. Horses symbolize movement, power, and destiny. When horses appear out of context, in dreams or signs, they often signal urgency. But when the horse feels restless, uncontrollable, or running without direction, it may be a warning that you are being pushed into a path that is not yours. Someone may be rushing you, pressuring you, or steering your life for their benefit. God sends the horse to ask, who is holding the reins of your life? If it is not him, it is time to step away. 8. The cat. Warning of energy drain and illusion. Cats are spiritually sensitive creatures. They symbolize intuition, mystery, and energetic boundaries. When cats avoid certain people or act strangely around specific places, it can be a subtle spiritual warning. God may be revealing that someone is draining your energy emotionally or spiritually. The connection feels intriguing, but exhausting. Familiar, but confusing. The cat's message is gentle but firm: trust your instincts. Not everything that feels comfortable is safe. 9. The bird that suddenly flees. Warning of immediate departure. Birds represent freedom and divine communication. When birds suddenly scatter, fly away, or stop singing in a place you are considering staying, it can be a powerful sign. God uses this moment to say, do not settle here. Sometimes the warning is not dramatic. It is a sudden loss of peace. A quiet inner resistance. A heaviness that appears without explanation. The fleeing bird reminds you that your spirit was not meant to remain. Why these signs appear to the chosen. Not everyone sees these warnings. Not everyone feels them. Chosen ones are sensitive to spiritual shifts. They notice patterns, symbols, and emotional changes that others dismiss. God does not send these signs to scare you, but to protect you. He speaks to those who listen, and he warns those who are walking toward danger without realizing it. If you are seeing these signs, it is because you are meant to move, not to stay stuck in places that limit your growth, silence your spirit, or compromise your calling. The final message: when God wants you to leave, he will not always close doors violently. Sometimes, he whispers through creation. Pay attention to what repeats. Pay attention to what disturbs your peace. Pay attention to what appears when you ask for clarity. Animals do not lie. Nature does not manipulate. These signs are invitations to trust God's protection over human comfort. Leaving may feel lonely at first, but staying where God has warned you to leave will always cost more in the end. And if you are seeing these signs now, this message is not random. It is your confirmation. It is your protection. It is your call to move forward, before the warning turns into a lesson. When you begin to understand these signs, something deeper awakens inside you. You realize that your life has never been guided by coincidence. Every discomfort, every sudden hesitation, every unexplained heaviness was not weakness, it was discernment. God does not warn everyone the same way. He warns those who are listening, those whose spirits are awake enough to notice when something sacred is being violated. Many people stay too long because they wait for logical proof. They wait for betrayal to become obvious, for harm to become visible, for pain to justify their departure. But the chosen are not called to live reactively. They are called to live prophetically, moving before damage occurs, leaving before the storm arrives. That is why these signs often appear quietly at first. A strange animal crossing your path at the wrong time. A recurring image that follows you across days and dreams. A sudden discomfort you cannot explain, even when everything looks fine on the surface. These are not random experiences. They are early warnings, gentle mercies meant to save you from harsher lessons. God understands human attachment. He knows how easily you bond to people, places, routines, and identities. He knows how difficult it is for you to walk away without visible justification. So he speaks to you through symbols, because symbols bypass logic and speak directly to the soul. And the soul always knows before the mind is ready to accept the truth. You may notice that these signs intensify when you ignore them. What begins as a subtle nudge becomes repetition. What begins as a whisper becomes discomfort. What begins as unease becomes exhaustion. God does not punish you for staying, but he allows the weight to grow until staying becomes unbearable. This is not cruelty, it is protection. Some people are not meant to walk with you into your next season. Some places cannot contain who you are becoming. And some environments are spiritually incompatible with your calling, no matter how familiar they feel. That is why animals, pure, instinctual, unfiltered, are often chosen as messengers. They do not rationalize danger. They respond to it immediately. And that is what God is teaching you to do. When you see a warning animal repeatedly, the question is not, what does this mean? The question is, what am I still tolerating that my spirit has already rejected? Because the truth is, you already know. You feel it when conversations drain you instead of energize you. You feel it when you leave a place feeling smaller, heavier, or confused. You feel it when your intuition goes quiet, not because there is peace, but because something inside you has shut down to survive. These are not signs of weakness. They are signs that you have outgrown your surroundings. God never warns you to leave without preparing something better ahead, but He will not reveal the next destination until you release the current one. Faith is not knowing where you are going, it is trusting who is guiding you. That is why the chosen often walk away without applause, without validation, without explanation. Others may call you dramatic, sensitive, or unstable. They will not understand why you left something that looked fine. But you were not called to live by appearances. You were called to live by alignment. And alignment always costs comfort. There is a reason peace disappears before disaster arrives. Peace is your compass. When it leaves, it is not punishing you, it is redirecting you. God removes peace from places that are no longer safe for your future self. The tragedy is not leaving too early. The tragedy is staying after the warning. Many wounds you carry today did not come from sudden attacks. They came from ignoring the moment your spirit said, "Something is wrong here." They came from giving the benefit of the doubt to people who consistently drained you. They came from staying loyal to environments that were silently eroding your identity. God is not asking you to become suspicious of everything. He is asking you to become honest with yourself. If your body tightens around someone, listen. If your energy drops in a place, honor that. If signs repeat, stop dismissing them. Discernment is not fear, it is maturity. And as you grow spiritually, your tolerance for misalignment shrinks. What you once endured for years now exhausts you in minutes. What you once explained away now feels unbearable. This is not because you are becoming weaker, it is because you are becoming clearer. Animals appear as warnings because they respond to truth instantly. A bird does not debate whether to fly away from danger. A snake does not announce itself before striking. A spider does not warn you before trapping you. And neither should you wait for damage before choosing yourself. God's warnings are invitations, not threats. They are doors opening away from harm, not walls closing you in. Every time you obey one, something unseen is rearranged in your favor. You may never know what you avoided. You may never see the outcome you escaped. And that is the point. Protection often looks like loss, until time reveals what staying would have cost you. If you are experiencing these signs now, you are standing at a crossroads. One path leads deeper into confusion, compromise, and spiritual exhaustion. The other leads into uncertainty, but also alignment, peace, and growth. God does not force you. He invites you, and He waits to see whether you trust His voice more than your attachment. Leaving will not feel dramatic. It will feel quiet, lonely, uncertain, but slowly, your breath will deepen, your thoughts will clear, your energy will return, and you will realize that the heaviness you carried was never yours to bear. It belonged to the place you stayed too long. It belonged to the people you tried to save. It belonged to the version of you that had not yet learned to walk away. When you finally leave, you are not abandoning anyone. You are honoring the life God is trying to protect. And one day, you will look back, not with regret, but with gratitude that you listened when creation spoke. Because God always warns before He allows. He always signals before He shifts. And He always protects those who are willing to move when the sign appears. If your spirit feels stirred right now, do not ignore it. This message found you because it was meant to. And what you do next will determine not just where you go, but who you become. There comes a moment when the signs are no longer external. After the animals, after the repeated symbols, after the subtle disturbances in your environment, God begins to speak directly through your inner world. Your thoughts slow down, your tolerance collapses. What once felt manageable now feels impossible to ignore. This is the final layer of warning, the one that cannot be misunderstood unless deliberately avoided. At this stage, the chosen often feel tired in a way that sleep cannot fix. Not physically exhausted, but spiritually drained. You may notice that even small interactions feel heavy, that laughter feels forced, that your presence is no longer received with warmth but with resistance or silent competition. These are confirmations, not coincidences. God does not wait until something breaks beyond repair. He begins to loosen your attachments long before the separation happens. Suddenly, your emotional bond weakens. Your desire to explain yourself fades. Your urge to fight for understanding disappears. This is not apathy, it is release. And release is holy. Many misunderstand this stage and think they are becoming cold or heartless. In reality, they are becoming obedient. God is gently removing the emotional hooks that once kept them tied to places and people who can no longer walk with them. This is where most people resist. Because leaving when there is chaos feels justified. But leaving when things are fine feels selfish. Yet God never measures safety by appearances. He measures it by alignment. The chosen are often protected not by miracles, but by early exits. They are spared not because they are stronger, but because they are listening. What others call bad luck, later, you avoided simply by walking away when peace left the room. This is why the warning signs escalate if ignored. Not because God is angry, but because danger is approaching faster than you realize. When whispers are ignored, God raises the volume. Not to frighten you, but to reach you. Sudden disruptions begin to occur. Plans fall apart. Conversations turn tense. People reveal sides you have never seen before. These moments are not failures. They are confirmations. You are being pushed out of a place that would have eventually broken you. At this point, animals may disappear entirely. The signs have done their job. Now the decision is internal. Will you trust what God has already shown you, or will you demand proof at the cost of your peace? The truth is, many of the greatest regrets in life come from staying one season too long. Not because the place was evil, but because it was expired. Even good environments can become dangerous when they are no longer meant for you. God's timing is precise. When He says, go, it is not because you are ungrateful. It is because what is coming next requires a version of you that cannot be formed where you are. Growth always demands movement. You may notice that when you try to recommit to the place God is calling you out of, your spirit resists. Motivation disappears. Inspiration dries up. Joy becomes mechanical. This is divine friction. God is making staying uncomfortable so that leaving becomes possible. And still, He allows you to choose. This is why the chosen are not exempt from pain. They are simply given warnings early enough to avoid unnecessary suffering. But free will remains. You can ignore the signs. You can rationalize them. You can stay. God will not stop you. But understand this: the longer you stay after the warning, the heavier the lesson becomes. What could have been a quiet exit turns into a painful ending. What could have been peace becomes grief. What could have been wisdom becomes trauma. Not because God wanted to hurt you, but because protection requires cooperation. There is a sacred courage required to leave without closure. To walk away without explanation. To trust that silence is sometimes safer than confrontation. The chosen learn that not every exit requires a speech. Some exits require obedience, and obedience often looks like solitude at first. You may walk away and feel empty, directionless, uncertain. That is normal. You have left behind an identity, not just a place. You have stepped out of familiarity and into faith. But slowly, something returns. Your breath becomes lighter. Your thoughts become clearer. Your intuition becomes sharper. And you realize that the heaviness you mistook for responsibility was actually misalignment. God does not rush restoration. He allows you to rest first. He knows how much strength it took to listen. How much you sacrificed by choosing yourself when others did not understand. Then, quietly, He begins to align you with new environments. New conversations, new opportunities, new people who do not drain you, but recognize you. And you will notice something important. No warning animals appear here. No heaviness, no inner resistance. Peace stays. That is how you know you have obeyed. Peace is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of God's approval. It is the signal that you are where you are supposed to be, even if the path ahead is still unclear. The chosen eventually learn that warnings are not punishments. They are privileges. Many people walk into harm without ever being warned. They learn through pain. You are learning through discernment. And discernment is a gift. It sharpens with use. It strengthens with obedience. It fades when ignored. So honor it. If animals once spoke to you, and now silence surrounds you, do not panic. The message has already been delivered. The responsibility has shifted from awareness to action. God trusts you enough to decide. And whatever you choose next will shape the season that follows. But remember this: God never warns without a reason. And He never calls you to leave without preparing a place where your spirit can finally breathe. You are not running away. You are being led forward. And one day, when you look back, you will realize that the moment you thought you were losing everything was the moment God was quietly saving you from something you were never meant to endure.